everybody. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Freaking Epic Podcast. This is Zach and
Aaron, Aaron.
Aaron. So today we are doing a segment called Better Than You Think, and it's about basically how the world is better than you think. There's a lot of times in life we get told this bad news because that's what sells. What the news is for is to sell us outrage and fear. And a lot of times we don't know all of the good things that are going on because for every bad person killing someone, there's thousands of people just living a good life. And we wanted to today highlight some of those things. So I will go with my first one. Are you ready, Aaron?
I'm so ready, man. I've been waiting all morning for this.
Man. I believe it. And also, that's a lie. It's evening. You're already getting down the broadcast lingo. I like it. Just lie about when we're recording things.
I remember that part. But I still could have waited all morning and then just stopped waiting in the afternoon. And now that it's evening, I kind of did both.
Yeah, I agree. I completely believe you. All right. So my first good news story is this is about a year old, but we have just discovered that in the last 35 years, the entire world has added 7% more trees. So we've actually had there has been a ton of tree growth in the last 35 years. The world's tree cover increased by a total of 2.24 million square kilometers. So basically, we have planted and things have grown naturally about as many trees as Texas and Alaska combined.
What the heavens?
Yeah,
that's great.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Basically, they did an analysis on some satellite data from 1982 to 2016. So I'm not saying it's a coincidence, but I mean, since I've been born, things have been going well.
Exactly then. You didn't know, man. That's so true. When one man started to grow, so did many trees.
Yeah.
Wow. I think the ancient Hebrew said that one.
Yeah, that is the tagline for my ancient Hebrew movie, Zach and the Trees. That's also my ancient Hebrew band.
Zach and the Trees, and his leaf won't leave you.
And he won't leave you alone. But in like a romantic way, not a creepy stalker way.
But he will rather increase his presence with you by 2.4%.
Yeah, by 2.24 million square kilometers worth of presence.
Whoa.
So it looks like throughout the world, Russia added 790 square kilometers of trees.
Come on.
China added 324,000 square kilometers. United States added 301,000 square kilometers. So those were the three kind of biggest factors. But it's just cool that we, for all the stuff we hear about the world, the environment being terrible, that there are things being fixed too. And I know that India is going on a huge tree planting rampage, a good rampage, like positive rampage, like
a killing spree, but not with killing, just a spree,
like a hugging spree.
Oh,
yeah, we need the news to start reporting on hugging sprees. Like, a man hugged 5 people in a store today outside of Jacksonville, Florida.
Jacksonville, Florida. You should have seen. He even included a couple of them with a smile and a wink. You would have been surprised.
Yeah, with an assault arm. And so if you actually look at, that's all looking at kind of the taller trees. If you look at like small trees, there's a huge upswing in India. So we should be, a lot of those trees that have been planted should be coming to full growth in the next few years. So we'll continue to move up, which is pretty cool. So
that's very cool.
What is your first piece of good news?
My first piece of good news is not so much a natural thing such as the trees and the leaves and bramble bushes, which I don't know what those are, but whenever I poke myself on a thorn and go, "You bramble bush, you." I think that way it doesn't know if I'm being mad or endearing, if you say it with that kind of attitude. Because, trees have ears.
The trees have ears. I believe that is a horror movie.
The hills have eyes and the trees have ears.
Yeah, it's a sequel.
Part 2. One. Oh wait, never mind. That doesn't work. I was gonna say
And
one.
part 3, the otters have fists.
A lot of kilometers of fists.
2.24 million kilometers of fists. Otter fists.
Of fists. Otter fists. Get one before they're taken away.
Yes, by the trees with ears.
All right, here's my good news.
All right.
This is new. It's a medical. It's super cool. Mm-hmm. And I got this a toilet-based cardiovascular monitoring system. A toilet seat. So it's a toilet seat that has all this. Yeah, dude, it's got all this medical information technology underneath it. Specifically because you know how like heart disease and cardiovascular is a huge. It's like the number one. There's 1 million new cases, huh?
It's that or cancer that kills people.
It's crazy. Yeah, and heart disease, that's one of the things. I think it's even those other things, but it's actually the heart when that stops.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? That the whole body stops, but it's kind of.
Yeah, it's kind of important, I would say. A little bit.
It's up there.
It's in the top 5.
Get a couple kilometers of trees in your room, it might help with the oxygen flow, but
yeah.
Until then, just buy a toilet seat.
I actually have a couple of kilometers of trees in my very room.
Whoa.
I'm what I'm saying is I'm homeless.
Well.
So okay, tell me more about this toilet seat. What does it do?
Well, I think that you could. So it's kind of simple. It's just helping people that are already diagnosed, and so then they're giving it to them so that they can catch things a lot quicker. Because 25% of patients, it says, end up being readmitted after 90 days of being discharged.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then honestly, sometimes you catch it too late, or because it's your heart. You know what I mean? So you don't have time. Yeah. So this is just, it develops it. Also, what do you do? I mean, if you're regular, it's once a day. So you get to check it once a day, and it's just, I think it saves a lot of medical time and all that kind of stuff. So they say it's working pretty good, and it's even saving money.
Yeah. Well, because then you don't have to go into the hospital at all. That's actually a brilliant innovation. Like if all of us had monitors on our toilet seats, like we could basically just have an app on the phone, and the app automatically just checks you against certain risk factors. And when you have a risk factor, it just kind of gives you a notification saying, hey, you might consider going to the doctor soon, or hey, you about to die. Like that's actually a brilliant way for the future to just have our day-to-day things we do become life-saving.
That's true. I mean, how often is it people say like he was perfectly healthy and then he just died of a heart attack? Like that's not super uncommon.
It's not uncommon, and it's just not accurate. It's just we didn't know. But that's kind of what we've been doing throughout history. So in World War I, 10% of people who volunteered to go to the war couldn't be admitted into the army because of goiters. They just had growths on their body. And so in order to combat that, we put iodine in the salt. And now that everyone had enough iodine, suddenly I've never met someone with a goiter. Even though that was 1 out of 10 people had goiters, not just goiters, but goiters so bad they couldn't go into a world war. So this could be something that's similar. It's just an everyday thing that no one even realizes is happening. Or, I mean, I guess you'd realize it a little more because you'd have an app or you'd get a call saying, hey, your whatever has been a little bit off today. I think
that. That makes a lot of sense too. It's just what you're talking about. It becomes a normal way of life. I mean, obviously we're getting there with the smart watches and all that kind of stuff, but yeah, I think this specific system is just a little bit more advanced because it goes directly to the hospital. Not saying that you couldn't get an app in 2 years, figure that out, or 30 days, but this is like directly linked to your doctor who knows your history and what you're looking for. That makes sense.
Especially if you've had previous events, previous occurrences, it's you have a definite paper trail of what's going on. I like that. So my next one is also medical. They have, you've seen the thing, the bubble boy thing, where there were kids who had to live in bubbles because they have no immune system.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's not just one kid. I mean, it's kind of like what we'd see on the news when we were growing up. It seemed like it was just one kid, but it's actually it's not super common, but there are a lot of kids who just have to live in a bubble their entire life, or they'll die because without an immune system, a common cold is fatal.
Right. They're never able to fend off.
Yeah.
In life, got it.
So, they had the St. Jude Hospital, which you should donate to if you are a listener, because they give 100% of that money straight to the kids. Private donations make up, I believe, all their operating costs. So you can actually just help fund research like this.
Wow.
But they have this is a weird way to fix it, but they basically found that if they inject an altered version of HIV, of AIDS, essentially, into kids with bubble baby syndrome, they
Really?
inserted it into 8 different kids, and all 8 of them grew immune systems.
What?
Yeah. So
That's awesome.
almost all the babies within a month were fine and had immune systems. So basically, it seems like, I mean, so far it's really early, but so far, I mean, 8 out of 8 have had essentially their bubble boy syndrome cured. It seems as though we just discovered a cure for bubble boy disease.
That's just that's like best news on the planet. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
for parents and those kids.
Oh,
'Cause that's,
yeah.
Dude, it's long term, man. It's that long term stuff. Like, I mean, any kind of illness is really terrible, especially when it's just comprehensive and completely takes over people's lives. But this kid stuff, man, like, that's who they are until maybe ever. I mean, I don't know if
until they
develop
die. I mean,
Yeah.
the famous bubble boy died I believe at 12, because he, they had to do like a bone marrow transplant or something, and he didn't make it. But it seems as though now we'll be able to, I mean, obviously it's going to take a few years before it's fully implemented and fully tested and stuff, but our future generations will watch, some TV show, some like newsreel from our times and be like, what? That's a thing? I've never even heard of that, because we've just eliminated it.
Yeah. Even like you were saying, the iodine, the goiters, or scurvy when they didn't have vitamin D on the ship.
Yes, exactly.
Like that, like, put some oranges on there, and everybody's like, "Oh, I don't suffer anymore." It's like, what? That was it.
That's it. All you need is an orange. An orange a day keeps the scurvy away.
That's scurvy away.
Scurvy away. A new product from Bayer.
A new product from the Caribbean.
So, what
the
is...
Caribbean. Doesn't even make sense. Sometimes I intentionally fly planes with no intention of landing. It's just
I know.
Want to go straight to the clouds or crash into a mountain. That's the whole point.
It's called shooting for the stars and hoping you don't land just in the middle of the earth, which sometimes you do.
So this one is gonna land though. This one's
okay.
Right up.
This one's gonna land.
It's gonna land 135 miles from shore. But the good news, the good part of it is, for all you cat lovers out there, this is not about a cat, so sorry about that. But now I'm going to talk to the dog lovers. There was actually, this is crazy. You don't know how it happens, but you said the Lord works in mysterious ways. Well, sometimes it's not. Well, I guess it could be mysterious. There was this dog found 135 miles out off of the shore on an oil rig from Thailand, near Thailand, in the Gulf of Thailand. So these guys working on this oil rig just saw this small little head just bouncing up and down, and that oil rig was 135 miles an hour. I mean, not miles an hour, miles from shore.
Wow.
And so a dog was saved, and that dog is looking for an owner right now, but one of the guys said that he'll adopt it for sure. So I was like, that's amazing. What the heck? That dog has been sucking salt water, probably been getting nibbled at his feet by little fishes. 135 miles? Man.
That's crazy. Maybe he like fell off a boat like 100 miles out or something. Either way,
totally.
Like just surviving, because you're not falling off a boat near the oil rig, because there's not the people would have been like, hey, there was a boat nearby, he probably fell off of that. So it's at least out of sight, which is a few miles.
Well, the fact that someone even saw it too, because they said,
oh yeah,
thankfully the waves were low. The waves were high, and it was, it's like a little brown dog. It's like,
yeah,
you don't see that, man. You hardly see that in the ocean.
Yeah, you hardly see a dog in the ocean. That is, truer words were never spoken.
Well, you hardly ever see a dog in the ocean. That's like
that's a Hank Williams song. It's an actual Hank Williams song. You never see a dog in the ocean. You can't roller skate in a buffalo herd. Sorry, not Hank Williams. Roger, what the heck is it? What? There was some weird singer, which is really enjoyable, who just, oh, you can't roller skate in a buffalo herd. That one? That song? No?
Yeah.
My mom is from Kansas. I've heard a lot of strange things.
How about you, man? What's your next one?
My next one, this is kind of cool. So Adidas has spent the last 4 years essentially taking ocean plastic and making it into shoes.
What?
Yeah, so they have actually, so far the response has been so good for people buying it that they've produced already 5 million pairs of basically plastic waste shoes in 2018, and 2019 they're aiming at 11 million pairs of shoes. So now they're not taking the plastic directly out of the ocean, which would be cool, but what they're actually doing is taking like beach plastic that's about to go into the ocean. They're having people kind of just comb the worst parts of the beaches. Or I assume not people, I assume trucks and sorters and stuff. But they're basically just taking all this plastic that would make it into the ocean, turning it into yarn, and putting it on their shoes. So, like I said, they're also starting to make football jerseys from the recycled stuff. Yeah. Which is really cool because, you hear a lot about the ocean plastic problem, but it's cool that big companies who, traditionally in the kind of traditional movements have been considered the bad guys, that they're actually working on really, really fixing these problems. And like, if you're a dude, just like you're a person, you're just walking around with shoes, someone says, oh, those are really cool. And you go, yeah, they were made from ocean waste. Then how cool is that? Like, everyone's going to enjoy your shoes more, and you're able to, help out by doing essentially what you're doing already. So they said in 2018 alone, now this wasn't specifically just for shoes, but they saved about 40 tons of plastic waste by changing up some of the ways they worked with things. But yeah, I thought that was just really cool to have ocean plastic turning into things that we wear on our feet.
Well, and it's really cool because you have a big corporation that's able to do that at a large scale.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, they can invest a little bit in it, maybe get a tax break, or not that that's the goal, but there is something like, hey, we can actually make a dent in this because we're big enough.
Yeah, that's so huge because organization matters, and having a team to be able to afford to buy the machinery and do all that stuff, like, it's got the infrastructure already in place, that so you don't have to build a whole new thing and spend years of human effort.
Right. Exactly.
Because we forget how much just human effort isn't environmentally free. Like, human effort requires food and walking, which requires more food, or cars, or to get where you're going, or like, just so many things that the human life requires. So what we kind of forget in all the environmental stuff is that a bunch of people spending all their time on it isn't environmentally free. You're kind of, it's kind of like inflation. You're always eating away at your total effect just by living. So having this done by already set up supply chains and logistics chains and organizational chains is really cool.
So huge.
Yeah, super huge. So anyway, what is your number 3, I believe?
That's really neat. I like that. So this one's really cool. It's like kind of hits home. So there was a major cyclone, one of the biggest that I saw. I was looking it up as well recently, as far as people hurt
Yeah.
or death tolls. Not necessarily size wise or win all that kind of stuff, but as far as
Yeah.
actual people.
As far as outcome.
Yeah. Yeah. So that just happened like last month in
Oh, wow.
March. And so this kind of has a twofold, really cool, just story, both good news, you know. And the first part is when it was happening, there's a 70-year-old widow, just this
Yeah.
lady who she has the greatest name. I don't know if I'm going to pronounce it right, but she was from I think Zimbabwe's pretty close, and to where it was, and her name is Plexitis Gogo Dylan. Her nickname is Gogo. So her literal nickname is Go-Go. So it's kind of like if you want, you know how when you speak over your kids or speak over anybody, sometimes their name really comes to be. The fact that she was 70 years old, and the rest of the story makes sense, that her name is Go-Go, that she walked 10 miles once she heard about the, you know, just the devastation of the storm and everything, with a bunch of goods, with everything that, like, she usually goes and sells, like, you know, some crafts and some food and stuff, but instead of going to the marketplace, she just walked to where this hurricane lambasted people and gave it to a church, because that's where the, you know, that's where the distribution is.
Yeah.
And she's just doing it. Like, she doesn't even think twice about it. And one of these, I think millionaire, like one of the most richest people, so possibly billionaire, but one of the richest people in Africa. I'm not going to try to pronounce his name. Masiyiwa. Okay. And so he heard about it, and he's like, I'm going to find her and give her $1,000 a month and build her a house anywhere she wants and give her solar power and running water.
That's
when
crazy.
She heard that she
That's
did that.
really cool.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
She's got like 9 grandkids, and her husband died 11 years ago. And so it's just powerful all the way around, you know?
Yeah. I mean, what we don't realize is how many people show up and help when things go wrong. Like, there's just so much. People aren't usually left alone. Like, people come in from everywhere. You look at stuff during, like, the flooding in Houston or whatever, and there are people coming in from all over the state and all over the country to help out. Just I'm going to use my vacation
off of work to do that.
Yeah.
You know, like, what? Like, for real, man. I mean, I you know people, and they're just like, yeah, I'm going to take off work my 2 weeks of the year and go and help people in Houston. Like, what?
Yeah, of course. And we just don't count how many people do things like that. And, you know, it's not something we think about, because our brains are designed to notice bad things more, because if we miss a good thing, we're not going to die. If we miss a bad thing, we could. So,
I never thought about it like that. Yeah.
We have to train ourselves out of that. We have to train ourselves into seeing the good, because you'll see whatever. Your brain only has space for a few different kind of things that you notice at once.
Especially as you get older, yeah, and if you have a busy life, yeah.
Yeah, and so training, it's just kind of part of a good life is training yourself to see the good things and to not focus on the bad things, because the bad things will always be there, but the majority of them, especially with the way, you know, the media is, not saying like the media is bad, that's a separate conversation, but like the way just the fact that we're hearing bad things from across the world. It used to be we only heard bad things that happened in our neighborhood, or from people we knew, or rumors, but now we can actually see what's happening in random countries, random places we'll never be. So just learning to not worry about the things you can't take care of. And anytime you hear something bad, just go, okay, what can I do with what I have to take care of this? You know, set aside $50 a month for giving to whatever natural disaster or, you know, tragedy happens, because there's going to be, because there's billions of people. And, you know, so anyway, that's really cool that she was able to do that, and that the billionaire was able to, you know, just spend a tiny bit of money, but really make her, you know, bless her.
Yeah, huge.
So I am going to go back to AIDS, because, you know, apparently that's the theme of today. So 12 years ago, someone was cured of AIDS, and no one has ever been cured since. Basically, we've got a lot of drugs that allow AIDS to be kind of taken care of, but a few months ago, for the first time in 12 years, someone has been cured of AIDS.
Okay, so does that mean just someone has been found to not have AIDS anymore, or actually cured because there was a solution to them? Do you know what I mean?
So basically, what happened is the first guy who was cured of AIDS. He basically it's an accident, obviously, but he had like this crazy bone marrow transplant, and he nearly died. And people thought maybe the stress of all that, like, weakened his kind of like chemotherapy, almost like weakened his body enough that his immune system kind of took over and blasted a few things out. But this new guy also received a bone marrow transplant from a person with the same genetic mutation, a CCR5 protein mutation. And so, but he didn't go through the same the same crazy treatment. So now the thing is, now we have two people who have been cured, and so it's going to be a lot easier in the future to kind of look for similarities, because when it's one person, so many factors. When there's two people, there's a lot less possible factors, because the biggest thing you're looking at is things that were shared between those two people. So this will dramatically decrease the amount of space we're looking at for an AIDS cure. And there's also a third person who has so far been off their AIDS medication for 4 months now.
Whoa.
So it's possible that we will wind up with a third person who's been cured of AIDS. I know AIDS nowadays can be treated with a kind of a treatment drug, so it's not nearly like it was during the 70s, 80s, whatever. But it's just cool that it's looking like we're starting to kind of narrow in on what might. But unlike the geography, we're not looking all over the world. We're like, okay, the cure for AIDS is in this specific country, in this county. We're starting to narrow down where the cure for AIDS might lie, which is really cool. And the first time in 12 years that someone's been cured of AIDS.
That's big news. That's huge.
Yeah.
I mean, people talk about the AIDS epidemic a lot.
Yeah.
Especially in certain parts of the world, because I mean, obviously it's.
Oh yeah, especially Africa. Africa has a horrible. Well, that's one I was going to do the next time we do this. There's been a few countries that have had drastic drops in people with AIDS. So, but we'll talk about that next time.
Cool.
Because I don't have the data for it looked up right now.
That makes sense. That's good news. I love that.
It's just cool. Like, we think these problems are so insurmountable, and then for years they are, but then, a lot of times just at random, we find out that we're a way to move in the right direction.
Yeah. Getting that breakthrough. I mean, it's happened. I mean, it's obviously happened in a lot of ways, even like electricity and water and plumbing. It's just all these kind of factors and whatnot. But all right, here's mine. I like this one, man, because it's about a celebrity, but it's good news about a celebrity.
Nice.
It's not just like news about what they did or what they were wearing or the fact that they got divorced, did drugs, whatever, all this kind of stuff. And it wasn't even by the media. It was just, how everybody has cell phones now. Keanu Reeves was in Keanu. I mean, that's a cool name. That's good news right there, that his parents had the courage to call him Keanu. And one thing funny about him, he's known for a lot of his action stuff, right?
Yeah.
But he started out as a comedian on SNL. So that's just...
Wait, really?
That's funny. Yeah, man. Remember he was in, I think it was Bill and Ted, Adventures of Bill and Ted.
Bill and Ted, yeah.
Yeah, so that's what he was known as, But it's really cool because he was he was on a plane, I think just a regular, commercial flight or whatever, and so they had to land 2 hours out of LA in like Bakersfield or whatever. Uh-huh. And the whole time the report is like he was just having fun with everybody, like hanging out, just being the life of the party. And then once they got into Bakersfield, he went ahead and like rented a couple buses for everybody on the plane and brought them to where they needed to go.
That's really cool.
Just super cool, And they said that he was having fun the whole time, playing music on his phone. Just being enthusiastic. Do you know what I mean? Not like saying, "Oh, this sucks." He was just having a good time and making it cool for everybody. And just being down to earth.
Making what should have been a terrible experience that ruined a bunch of people's days into just an awesome experience that they'll remember for the rest of their lives.
Literally. Yep. That's such a good point. And honestly, I think, because he was a celebrity, maybe he had a little bit more attention, but people can do that, man.
Yeah.
Especially in scenarios like that. You know what I mean? It's like, come on, man, we're good. Don't even worry about it, dude. Like, we can't do anything about it anyway, so
we can make this fun.
Mm-hmm.
I like that.
Yeah,
I like that a lot. My last one is kind of similar to that. So,
cool.
These older people in Scotland were driving to Cambridge because the husband's mom was dying, and they wound up getting into a car accident, and their vehicle was stranded on the side of the road.
Yeah.
And they were basically found out from their insurance company and were told that it was going to be 3 hours, and then at that 3 hours, all they would pick up the car and drop them off at the train station. So they thought they were going to not be at the mom's side when she was passing.
Yeah, that's real.
Yeah. So a 40-year-old guy named Dean Moore was driving home from work, and he saw them on the side of the road and pulled over to make sure they're okay. And when he heard what was going on, he wound up driving them 200 miles. He just turned around from going home, drove them 200 miles. It was a 3.5 hour drive. So the guy basically drove 7 hours out of his way and was able to get them there at midnight. So they were able to spend a few hours that they wouldn't have had with his Ron is the guy's with Ron's mom before she died. So
that's just neat.
Yeah. So they wouldn't have been able to even see the mom before she died, before she passed, and just to be able to do it just because a guy's like, well, this needs to be done, and I'll just drive 7 hours out of my way. It's pretty cool.
That's real. Because I couldn't see myself doing that. I'd be like, man, that's too bad. I wonder if we can get you a flight, huh? Like just hearing that, I think is going to help my life.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes you just don't have grids, not even because you're not willing to do it. You honestly think like people don't do that, or I can't do that. But once you hear somebody does, you're like, well, nothing I'm doing is necessarily more important than what he was doing. It's like, that's powerful.
Cool. Just to remind us what we can do, next time we see something in front of us.
Sometimes it's that simple. Yes, it was a big deal, but it was also a very simple thing that he did.
Yeah. And that's kind of what's cool. A lot of times there's, big organizational things that, Adidas can, do these big organizational things. But a lot of times we can do things in our individual lives that just change the world for somebody.
Yeah. And I like that, man. That's just pleasant to hear.
Indeed. So thank you guys for listening to the Freaking Epic podcast. This was Better Than You Think, because the world is better than you think.
Amen.
Hey, amen. All right. Hello, everybody. Thank you for listening to the Freaking Epic podcast. This is Zach. And that's Aaron. Wait, can you not hear me? Am I still?
I didn't hear you. Well, you didn't say and. I was waiting for you to say and.
I did say and. I totally said and. Okay.
I didn't hear the and then. That must have blanked out.
Okay. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Freaking Epic podcast. This is Zach. And
Aaron. Aaron.
I didn't say and the first time. That actually didn't happen. I was waiting for you to add the and, apparently. All right, go again.
Abercrombie. What does that even mean?
That's a last name.
That probably means something in Gaelic, like wolf lore or something.
It probably means something like shirtless models in Gaelic.
Shirtless models and something that has to do with fish.
Well, what?
I mean, just think Abercrombie. It sounds like a exotic fish in the Gaelic oceans, if there's such as one.
The Abercrombie swims up 5 miles an hour with no shirt on. It has no scales on the front part of its body. It's just weird fleshy bits.
Weird fleshy bits. They don't even have to oil themselves up because they're already full of algae and
they're already full of omega-3s. They don't have to oil themselves up at all.
They have so many omega-3s. It's
you can't even imagine how many omega-3s an Abercrombie fish has.
That's why Abercrombie and Fitch.
I get it.
I was like, I don't know why I think this.